Hello, scholars. Welcome to our live CSEC class. We're going to be looking at some past papers, some past paper questions from CSEC Math. As usual, I want you, as you enter the classroom, to just say good morning, good night, wherever you are, whatever time of day it is. Here in Jamaica, it is night. So, good evening, good morning, good night, Miss, and not just Miss, but fellow scholars, okay? So do that for me, and we're going to get going. I'm going to be sharing the screen so you can see the questions. And I want you to really try to see if you can solve the questions on your own before I give you the answer. You don't want to just be sitting there waiting for me to give you the answer, right? You want to be trying them, and then you check and see if you really got it. So do something for me. I'm gonna share the screen half, and you tell me if you're able to see the screen properly. If I do it half, if not, I'm going to take my beautiful face off the screen and just have the question alone, right? So if you know you can't survive the class without seeing my face, you're probably going to need to have the half. So let me know. So I'm going to that up. All right. And that's not a CSEC question, that's a PEP question. So I just wrapped up the PEP session, live PEP session. All right, so here we have the CSEC question. So give me some feedback. Let me know if I split the screen in two. Can you see the question really still? Are you able to see it? Say yes, miss, no, miss. Hey, Anusha, how are you, darling? Can you see it? Yes. So we're going to proceed. So the first question, let me find questions. The first question is consumer question. Where is it? Not that, not that, not that. Oh, okay. So let me locate it. Is it? All right, so here's a question. Paul bought and sold a computer. Both the business activity as follows. The cost price of the computer, $1,064. And the marked price of the computer is $199. The discount on the marked price, if you pay cash, is 5%. Okay. All right. So he bought it for 1,060, the cost price. He bought it for that. He is selling it back. He's it going to his store. You see on the computer is 199, and he's saying if you are buying cash, he's going to give you a 5% discount. Oh, by the way, give me 1 second. I completely forgot to I completely forgot to invite some persons, right? So give me 1 second, let me do that. All right. Okay, so let me share this link. And invite some persons to join us. Okay. All right. Okay. Right. So let's continue. So Paul is saying, if you come into my store and you have the money cash now to pay me, I'm going to give you a 5% discount. Question is saying, calculate the selling price if you're going to pay cash. All right, so we're getting a 5% discount. So there are two ways we can do it. We can find 5% of the $1,064 and subtract that from the $1,064, right? Or we can just find 95% of it and that's it. The logic of that is, if you're getting a 5% discount, you're really paying 90% of the cost, since 5 from 100 is 95. Some people prefer to go, the extra, work out the 5% of it, and then so I want you can do both just to check if you would. So some persons can find, so 5 over 100 times 1/4, and the answer that you get, you take it from the 1,064. Do that, and the persons who are going to just go straight and find 95% of it, post your answer and let me see if we're getting the same thing. Let me see if both methods would produce the same thing. So do that for me. And let's see some answers. Post your answers and let me see what you get. And remember, speed is a part of this because in the exam you are going to be timed. You are going to be timed. Several questions, each of them have different. All right, I'm seeing some answers coming in. Any answers yet? You have to try and work these questions quickly, but at the same time maintain accuracy. Imani, John, any answers yet? Where's Amari? All right, so I'm getting $1,010. And okay, so John got the same. All right. He got the same thing. What's this? Join stream. No, press. Oh, I think I know the problem. I will explain it to you. I'll explain it to you. All right, so it's $1,010.80. All right, so let me show you the other part. The other part of the question. It says they want the profit or loss as a percentage of the cost price. The profit or loss as a percentage of the cost price. So if he paid, the person is getting a discount. So clearly it's a loss, right? It's a loss to him because he paid more for it than what he's selling. Okay. So to get what the loss is, we're going to subtract the $1,010.80 from the original 1,064. So 1,064 minus $1,010.80. So that's $53.20. That's the loss. They want us to express that loss as a percent of the cost price. So the $53.20 as a, so we're going to put the $53.20 over the $1,064 times 100, because we're expressing it as a percent. And what do we get? Any answers for that? What did you get for that? Okay, John 5. Is it John or I think it's probably, I can't tell which. And that is correct, 5%. So it's a 5% loss. Let's go on to the slide. Okay, so now we have something to factorize. Okay, so for this, I'm going to go to the board. And all right, so they want to factorize a squared minus 16 so for those who know about the difference of squares, we realize this is the difference of squares. We factorize using the difference of squares when we have square number minus another square number. So if you can see, 4 is a square number, a squared is a square term, 16 is a square number. So to factorize the difference of squares is a plus b, a minus b. What that means is we're going to find the square root of each term and put it in the bracket. So the square root of 4 is 2, square root of a is a, and the square root of 16 is 4. So it's 2a plus 4 and 2a minus 4. And that's how we factorize using the difference of squares. Now part 2, they want us to factorize 3y squared plus 2y minus 8. So this is not the difference of squares. We don't have a square number minus a square number. We're going to need to factorize this one, and I'll tell you the steps that you take. The first thing we do is we multiply the 2n term, 3 times negative 8, which is negative 24. And we ask ourselves which two numbers multiply to give negative 24 and add the middle number, which is 2. So we can list out the factors 24, or if you can think in your head of the factors, you can combine them to see if they add to give a positive 2. Now remember, it's a negative 24, so it's going to have both positive and negative factors. Negative 6 and 4, negative and 6. That's what I mean. They both multiply to give a negative 24. Negative 8 and 3, negative 3 and 8. Negative 12 and 2, negative 2 and 12, and so on. So all the pairs of factors. Because the 24 is a negative number, we have to remember that either one could be positive or negative. The thing though to find which two of them add to give a positive 2. So it would be the negative 4 and the 6. So we're going to rewrite the expression and replace the positive 2y with negative 4y and 6y. I am going to 6 closer to the 3 because they share common factors, and I'm going to the negative 4 closer to the 8 because they share common factors. What we'll have is 3y squared plus 6y minus 4y minus 8. Remember, you have to put back your y's. So in other words, saying, writing 2, 6y, 4y. So what we're going to do is to factorize the pairs. 3y squared and 6y, what are the common factors? It's common. It's on the outside. 3y into y squared leaves y, goes y, and 3y into 6y goes 2. For the negative 4y minus 8, the common factor is negative 4, and negative 4 into negative 4y goes y, negative 4 into negative 8, 2. So now we're going to put the 2 outside together. In other words, y plus 2 is a common factor. We write that. And then 3y minus 4. So that is factorizing 3y squared plus. If we were to double check that this is correct, what we need to do is to expand the brackets using the distributive law. 3y plus y, 3y plus 2, negative times y, negative 4 times 2. And then we simplify them and we would get back the original 3y squared plus 2y minus 8. All right, so let's look at the other question. So are you able to see the board clearly, guys? Some students are saying. Okay. All right. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to see what I can regarding the quality of the board. This one, he's sending me a message. See if I can get on. No, this is a pair of simultaneous equations that they want us to solve. Okay, simultaneous equations. We're going to add a little bit and work the equations. All right, so let me get them up on the board. All right, so it's 2xy and 5x minus 2y. So these are equations that we need to solve. All right, now we can use elimination method and we can use the substitution method. I'm actually going to do both. I'm going to do both. So let me write the equation over this side and I'm going to work it using the other method to show you. So when I'm done over here, I'll just try to adjust the camera so you can see the other side of the board. All right. Okay, persons are saying still can't see. Let me see if I can get it closer to the board. That's a little closer. Can you see it now? That's a little closer. Is that better? Is that better, guys? All right. So the method I'm going to use first is substitution. And in the substitution method, what we do is we make one of the variables the subject of the equation and we substitute it in the other equation. Usually we use a variable that has a coefficient of 1 or -1, which means looking at it you don't see a number, but you should know. So if you just see y, the coefficient is actually 1, and if you just see -y, the coefficient is actually -1. So for the substitution method, you want to choose a variable that has just a negative letter or a positive letter. No, bear in mind, there are one we just don't write the. So in that case, I put the y, since it's just y, one y. So what is in that equation? I would make y the subject, which means everything else over to the right and leave y itself on the left. So I will have y equals 3 squared. Then I'm going to substitute this value for y in the other equation. I'm going to put a bracket and substitute that value for y. So I would have 5x minus 2y. So bracket where y is and put this value for y So it will be 5x. Now I'm expanding the brackets using the distributive law. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Negative 2 is positive 4. Equals 12. Don't forget that part. Now we're going to combine the plus 4x, that's 9x. And now we're going to add 6 to both sides to cancel out the negative 6 from the left. So adding 6 to both sides, 9x is equal to 12, 6, which is 18. So x is 8 or 9, which we know is 2. But we're not done yet because in simultaneous equation, we need to find both variables, okay? And both variables. So we have found x, so we need to put this value of x in this equation to find what y is. So since x is 2, so 2 times 2, which is 4. So y is 3 minus, which is negative 1. Now, when you solve simultaneous equations, you should plug those values into both equations and see that they make sense. So if we're saying that x is 2 and y is negative 1, so let's check if that makes sense. So if x is 2 and y is negative 1, 2 2's 4 minus 1 will give 3. So the top equation checks out, but we can't be satisfied with it. We have to make sure both equations check out. 5 2 is 10, negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, we get 12. So we know that our answers are correct. So let's work these equations in the elimination method. So I'm going to turn, hopefully you can see it. Turn it so you can see it. So now the elimination method. Now in the elimination method, what we do is we try to eliminate one of the terms and solve for the other term, and then we go back and find the one we eliminated, right? How we eliminate is we need to make sure that the coefficients are the opposite inverse of each other or the same, so we can either add or subtract them to get 0, which is how the elimination part is. We want to eliminate it so we're left with only one variable that we can solve for. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the top equation by 5, the bottom equation by 2, so that they will end up with the same coefficient, and then we're going to subtract them to make them equal to 0. We could have used terms as well, in which we would multiply the top equation by 2 and the bottom equation by 1 and add or subtract to get 0. The idea is to get 0 to eliminate. So choose the simpler one, which is to multiply the equation by 2 and the bottom equation by 1. So end up 4x plus 2y equals 6 and 5x minus 2y equals 12. So now I have the coefficients opposite and equal. Opposite is or the inverse of each other. So we're going to add them, add this to cancel them out. And we have to add all the terms that come under each other. So the 4x plus 5x, that's 9x. 2y minus 2 is 0. So we get rid of the y variable. 6 plus 12 is 18. So x is 18 over 9, which is 2. Okay. And from there, we will do the same thing as here. So it's 2. So we substitute the value of 2 in one of the equations. So y is 3 minus 4, which is negative. So those are the two methods used to solve simultaneous equations: substitution method and the elimination method. All right, so now we're going to go to the next slide. I'm going to see what can be done in terms of the quality of the board for those persons who are seeing the board. Let's see what can be done. For the time being, bear with me, please, and let's see if we can continue. Okay. So for this question, so it says the table below shows corresponding values of the variables x and y, where is direct as x. All right. So this is direct variation. When one thing directly as another thing, that means whatever you do the first variable, it causes an action in the second variable that is consistent. So if x increases, y increases. If x decreases, y decreases. They are directly. So all we need to figure out, they want us to calculate the values of t and u. All we need to find out is, first of all, what is the constant quotient? And what we mean by that is, what are we doing to x, y? And once we figure that out, we can do it to all the x's to get all the y's, because they are direct proportional. The y varies directly as x. We can use one pair of them to figure out what is happening to the other variable. It applies to all this. So that we know both of them is the first pair, which is 6, 3. We know that when x is 6, y is 3. Therefore, what are we doing to x to get y? If when x is 6, y is 3, what have we done to x to get y? Let me hear what you're saying. What did we do to x to get y? Okay, so John is saying, or Imani is saying. John and Imani, you must let me know who is speaking each time. So we're saying we're dividing the 6 by 2. Okay, so all we need to do then to find the missing variables is, if we're given the x, we need to divide it by 2. But what would happen if we're given y and want to fill in the x? Because where t is, they want us to tell the x value. T would represent that correspond with the 9. So in case of the 10, yeah, in case of the 10, we're going to divide the 10 by 2 to get what u is, which would be what? Roshana, you're correct. It will be 5. Yes. Yes, Imani. Is 5. No, what are we? They're telling us that 9 is in the y. So how are we find t? We multiply by 2, correct. So what would be the value of t? T would be? Oh, it's Drayshawn. Drayshawn, you have me calling mommy's name. I thought mommy was the bright girl in the class. All right, so t is what number represents 18, correct. Did everybody get that? Do you understand what we're doing? So we're saying all we need to do was to figure out how you're doing the x values to get the y values. Because since they're directly proportional, whatever you do to the x value, we're going to do that straight across the board. As the x increases, the y increases, or decreases, the y decreases. So we need to first figure out what are we doing to x to get y. And since they gave us that x is 6 and y is 3, we realize that they're dividing the x value by 2, which stands to reason that if they give you the y value, multiply it by 2 to get the x value. So in the 10 column, if x is 10, then y must be 5. And if y is 9, x must be 18. All right, so that's it for that one. Now we go to the other slide. And have a sets question. All right, can you screen, students? I could make it so that I could do this. Let me see if that's better. Is that better? Okay. So in this question, they want us to, they're saying the Venn diagram below shows the number of students who study history and French in a class of 30 students. The universal set, of course, students in the class. H represents students who study history, and F represents students who study French. All right. So now they want us to find, and they have drawn the Venn diagram. So it stands to reason if X represents those who do both, and 18 people do history, then history alone would be 18 minus X. And if F, the number of students in F is 14, so F only would be the 14 minus X, right? And on the outside, we have 5 students in the rectangle, but not in the circles. That means those 5 students, they don't study either history or French. They are in the class. They are a part of the class, but they're not in the French or history class. So they are in the universal set, but on the outside of the circles. All right, so part I says, write an expression in X in its simplest form for the total number of students in the class. No, it's not an equation they want an expression. The total number of students would be the 18 minus X plus the X in the intersection plus the 14 minus X plus the 5 who don't do either one. The minus X plus X cancel out. 18 plus 14 would be what? 32. Plus 5 would be 37, and we have a minus X. So the expression that represents in its simplest form the total number of students would be 37 minus X. That's the expression. Next question. So the next question says, write an let me change the slide for you. So the next question. All right, so this is what they want us to do. So they're saying, state, so part I, state whether the following relationships are true or false. And the first one says H union F is equal to the universal set. Let me see who says true and who says false for that. Give me your answers. Is it true that H union F is equal to the universal set? Is that true or false? Type true or false. What is the question really asking? It's saying if we combine set H with set F, that's what they mean by H union F. If we combine set H with set F, that would give us everybody in the class, the universal set. That is not true. Because remember, there are 5 persons who are not in H or F. There are 5 persons who are a part of the universal set, but not in H or F. So to say that H union F would give us the universal set, that is not true. That's false. The second one, H intersect F complement would give us the null set or the empty set. Is that true or false? Tell me if that second one is true or false. So basically they're saying, when they say H intersect F complement, they mean H only. So the number in H alone, would it be equal to the empty set, the null set? That means there's nobody who does only history. Is that true? So there are how many persons in the class? Let me see. Let me go back to that question. There are 30 students in the class. So 37. So x is 7, right? All right. And h is 18. So if we take 7 from 18, we're going to have 11. So there are 11 persons in H only. So it would be incorrect to say that H intersect F complement has no members. That's incorrect. So that is false. And the third part says, determine the number of students who study both history and French. So that's what they want, the intersection, which is X. So since we had already determined that the expression for the total number is 37 minus X, that's what we did in part 1. And there are 30 students in the class. So 30 plus X is equal to 30. Therefore, X must be 7. So the number in the intersection is 7. All right, we have another. Hold on. We have another section. And it says, so a survey was conducted among 40 tourists. The results were 28 visited Antigua, 30 visited Barbados, 3x visited Antigua and Barbados, and x visited neither. So they want us to show that on the Venn diagram. Okay. All right, so we simply have to put in those figures in the Venn diagram. So it's 40 tourists. So all right, so 28 visited Antigua. So let's, Antigua overlap Barbados. 3x visited both, so we're going to put 3x in the middle. X visited neither, so X goes on the outside in the box, but not in the circles. 28 visited Antigua, so if 28 in all visited Antigua, then Antigua only would be 28 minus 3x, since 3x is the intersection. 30 visited Barbados, so Barbados only would be 30 minus 3x. So part 1 wants us, part 2 says, write an expression in X to represent the total number of tourists in the survey. So that would be 28 minus 3x plus 3x plus 30 minus 3x plus x. When we simplify that, we get 58 minus 2x. And that is the expression. And since it's 40 students in all, so 58 minus 2x would give 40. So to solve this algebraic equation now, 58 minus 40 would give 2x. So that's 18 would give 2x. So 18 divided by 2, which is x. So x is 9. The value of x is 9. So let's go from the top again for that. Let me read it again because this one is a little blurry. So I'm going to read. And it says a survey was conducted among 40 tourists. The results were as follows. 28 visited Antigua, 30 visited Barbados, 3x visited both Antigua and Barbados, and X visited neither Antigua nor Barbados. So in the middle, in the intersection, we're going to put 3x because 3x visited both. So that's where the two sets overlap. We're going to put 3x. For A only, so the part of A that does not include the intersection would be the 28 minus 3x. That's what we're going to put there. And for B only, it would be 30 minus the intersection. 30 minus 3x. On the outside of the circles, but inside the rectangle, the Venn diagram, we're going to put x because x visited neither Antigua nor Barbados. So those are tourists still, but they just did not go to Antigua or Barbados. So the first part of the question wanted us to write an expression in terms of x for the total. So it will be the 28 minus 3x plus the 3x in the intersection plus the 30 minus 3x plus the x that didn't go to either one. And when we simplify that expression, we get 58 minus 2x. Now for the last part of the question, which wants us to find the value of x, we simply make that expression equal to the total, 40. So 58 minus 2x is equal to 40. Therefore, x is equal to 18 divided by 2, which is 9. All right, next question. And bear in mind, guys, scholars, this is our first live CSEC broadcast. So there are issues which we're going to iron out in terms of the quality of the slides and the quality of the presentation when I have to go to the board. All of those things I'm going to sort out. I would appreciate if you would give me some feedback as we go along, as well as to how we can improve the delivery of the broadcast. All right, so I welcome your feedback. And by the way, I want you to click the notification bell so that you'll be notified during the week. We're going to have several CSEC classes during the week. At least one will be in the middle of the night, from 12 to 2 a.m. And that one is going to be the multiple choice, the CSEC paper 1. We're going to have classes specifically for algebra, specifically for graph, specifically for the paper 2, and so on. So you need to make sure you click that bell so you are notified, so you don't forget, and so you know you need to get your adequate sleep for when we're going to burn the midnight oil. As a matter of fact, the name of that class is going to be Midnight Oil. The Midnight Oil multiple choice CSEC class. Okay, so you know when that time is coming, you need to Go to bed early and set your alarm for 12 midnight. All right, so I am going to let you know though what the schedule is, which class will be held when, so that you can prepare. All right, so for this question, Mrs. Jack bought 150 t-shirts for $1,920 from a factory. Question 1, calculate the cost of one t-shirt. So she bought 150 of them for $1,920. How much did she pay for one? Let me see some answers. How much did she pay for one of those t-shirts? Okay, I'm seeing some answers. All right, so we get the unit value, and that's the term we use. It's asking how much for one. Term we use is the unit value. The unit value is the total cost divided by how many. So it's 1,920 divided by 150, and that is $12.80. That's the cost for one shirt, right? $12.80. Or the other part of the question says she's selling them now for $19.99, and they want the amount of Mrs. Jack received after selling all of the t-shirts. So she's selling back each one for $19.99. And remember, it was 150 of them. So she's selling them back for $2,998.50. And she bought them. So $2,998.50 minus what she paid for them, the $1,920. She's making a profit, $1,078.50. So let me see if there's another way we could have worked it too. We could have, let me see. So they gave us how much she's selling each for. We could subtract the $12, how much would it say, $12.80? We could have subtracted the $12.80 from the $19.99 and then multiply by 150. But you'd get the same answer. You can check it to see. All right. So let's go back from scratch. What we're saying. She bought all of them. No, she bought 150 t-shirts for 1,000. You sure it's 178 or $1,078.50? Double check that for me. She bought the 150 t-shirts for $1,920. So the cost of one shirt would be the 1,920 divided by the 150. And that's how we get $12.80. So she is selling back each of them for $19.99. So there are a number of ways we can work it. We can work it in terms of unit value, or we can work it in terms of the total. The only thing is whether you multiply first or divide first. You're going to get about the same answer. So she's selling the 150 of them for $19.99. That's what she's selling them for. And when we take away what she bought them for, the $1,090, we get $1,008.50. That's her profit. That's the extra that she's making on these t-shirts. So that's a part 3, where it says the total profit made would be the difference between what she's selling it for and what she paid for it. And that is $1,078. The last part says the profit made as a percentage of the cost price, giving your answer correct to the nearest whole number. So they want us to put this profit over the cost price, the $1,920, times 100, because they want us to express it as a percent. And that gives 56.171%. But they want it correct. They want us to round it off to a whole number. So since the first decimal place is 1, we can just ignore the rest of the decimals. Because if 5 or more, we would add 156 and get 57. So we're rounding it down. So rounding it off is 56. All right, and the next question. Let me see what's the next slide. All right, so I think 2 slides left, 2 or 3 slides left. All right, so this one is algebra. All right, algebra. So part A says, given that A is negative, I hope you're able to see the screen. If not, I'm reading it to you so you can jot down. So this is a substitution question, algebra, right? This is a substitution question. Given that A is -1, B is 2, and C is -3, find the value of A plus B plus C. So it will be -1 plus 2 plus -3. How much that give? -1 plus 2 would give +1, minus 3 would give -2. So the answer would be -2. All right. II says B squared minus C squared. So B is 2 and C is -3. If we square 2, we get 4. And square -3, we get +9. 4 minus 9 gives -5. So it's important to note that when we're substituting the value of C, we would have to bracket there, since we're dealing with negatives here and we're going to square the negative. So we'd write it as 2 squared minus bracket negative 3 bracket and square, put a square at the top of that. That's how we would set that out. All right, for B, write the following phrases as algebraic expressions. I says 7 times the sum of x and y. No, we have to first find the sum of x and y. So we're going to put that in bracket. Put x and y in brackets and then put 7 in front. So it's 7 brackets x plus y. The product of two consecutive numbers when the smaller one is y. If numbers are consecutive and they are consecutive counting numbers, so if the first one is y, then the other one is y plus 1 because they're consecutive, one after the other, right? So product means you multiply. So it will be y bracket y plus 1. If you wanted to expand that, then it will be y squared plus y. Let me know if you are following. So, all right, so for the other set, it's more simultaneous equations. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clear the board so I can do those. All right, so we have a pair of simultaneous equations, and then we have 3 equations that we need to factorize. All right, so for the simultaneous equation, again, I'm going to work them both using both methods, the elimination method and the substitution method. Whichever method we use, we should get the same answer. So let's do that. So again, let me free up the board. All right. So let me free up the board so you can see better. Okay. All right, so I'm going to work both equations. I'm going to work them both methods. So we have 2x plus y equals 7 and x minus 2y equals 1. So I'm just going to rewrite that because I'm going to work it using the other method. Usually when you're doing simultaneous equations, you would number your equations. So this is equation 1, equation 2, equation 1, equation 2. So using substitution first. All right. So remember I was saying for substitution, we want to use any of the variables that have a coefficient of 1 or negative 1. In other words, where you can't see a number before it. So I could use this or this, whichever one, it doesn't matter, you choose. I am going to use this equation. So x minus 2y equals 1. So x equals 1 plus 2y. So this value for x, now I'm going to substitute it here. So using 2x plus y equals 7, where x is 1 plus 2y. So I put a bracket where x is, I put a bracket, I'm putting the value, substitute the value, 1 plus 2y, plus y equals 7. Now using the distributive law to expand the equation, 2 times 1 is 2 and 2 times 2y is 4y. Combining the variable, the y variable, so 4y plus y is 5y. So 5y, taking 2 from both sides, 5y is 5. So y is 5 over 5, which is 1. Remember, we're not done yet. It's simultaneous equation. We need to solve for both variables. So y is 1. Therefore, we're going to go in this equation, and where y is, we're going to put 1. We're going to put a bracket and put 1. Expanding now, so x minus 2 is 1. So x is 1 plus 2, which is 3. So our coordinate pair, x is 3, y is 1. Let us substitute those values in the equations and see if they make sense. So if x is 3 and y is 1, 2, 3, 6 plus 1, 7, 3, and negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So we know that these values are correct. X is 3, y is 1. So let's use elimination method. So remember we said we need to multiply one equation by the corresponding coefficients of the other equation. You could use this equation times 1 and this equation times 2, or this equation times 2 and this equation times 1. It depends on whether you're focusing on the x variable or the y variable. It's all up to you. Whichever you choose, you will get the same answer eventually. So whichever one you want to start with, that's fine. So I am going to multiply the first equation by 1 and the second equation by 2. So this will give me the same thing for the top equation, and that's equation 3. And this will give me 2x minus 4y equals 2. All right, so now that I have the same coefficient, I can go ahead and subtract the equations to eliminate the x variable. So exactly know what I subtract equation 4 from equation 3. You could have done 3 from 4. It's all up. So I'm taking this equation from 1. So that I'll get 0, which eliminates the x variable. 1 to 4 is 5 and 7 minus 2. So y is 5 divided by 5, which is 1. And it brings us right back to here now. So we just substitute that value in the equation. It doesn't matter which one you start with. Once you follow this, you get the right answer. So y is 1, x is 3. Now, part of the question wants us to factorize. So again, we have a difference of squares. All right, so let me adjust even further for you. So we have a difference of squares. We have 4y squared minus z squared. So remember, once you have a square term minus another square term, factorize as the square root of each of the sum of the square roots, the difference of the square roots. So a plus b times a minus b. So the square root of y is 2y. The square root of 4y squared is 2. And the square root of z squared is z. So 2y plus z, 2y minus z. That's how we factorize using the difference of squares. For I, we have 2ax minus 2ay minus bx plus by. So let's factorize them in pairs. So the common factor here is 2a, and we're left with x minus y. The common factor here is negative b, and we're left with x minus y. So we have 2a minus b, x minus y. So those are the two factors. And the I is 3x squared plus 10x minus 8. So we're going to multiply the quotient of the x squared term with the term. So 3 times negative 8 is negative 24. And we ask ourselves, which two numbers, when you multiply them, you get negative 24, and when you add them, you get the middle term, x, the coefficient of the x term, which is 10. So which two numbers that are factors of negative 24 to give 10? Is it negative 6 and positive 4, negative 4 and positive 6, negative 12 and 2, negative 2 and 12, negative 8 and 3, negative and 8. All of those are factors of negative 24. By arranging them and adding them, we find that, it is 12. So when we multiply 12 and negative 2, we get negative 24. And when negative 2. So what we're going to do is to replace the positive 10 with 12x minus 2x. So we write back these and replace the middle term with. So we'll have 3x squared plus 12x minus 2x minus 8. It's the same equation, we just broke up the 10x into 12x minus 2x so that we can factorize in pairs. So we're going to factorize these two. The common factor of 3x squared and 12x is 3x. 3x into 3x squared goes x, and to 12x goes 4. The common factor of negative 12 and 8 is -4. -4 goes to -2 and -8. Sorry. -2 and -2 goes into -2x with x, and -2 into -8 goes +4. Remember, when you're factorizing in pairs, you should end up with the same term in the brackets. You do the exact same thing in it. Or you have to trace your steps and see where you went wrong. So now we're going to put the 2 outside. Common factor here is x plus 4. So we have 3x minus 2 x plus 4. And that is how we factorize that one. All right. So I think we have 1 for, let me double check. If it's not 1, it's 2. All right, so let me see where we're at. Those who have stuck around all evening, congratulations. I'm proud of you. It's another sets question. Oh, we did this one already. Hold on. Oh, we did this one. Let me double check. I think we did that one. Right, we did this one already. Okay, so I think that's it, guys. So remember, this is just the beginning. We're going to be doing lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of live CSEC classes. As I told you, we're going to be doing multiple choice, paper 1 classes in the middle of the night. So you're going to have to sleep and wake up back. We're going to be doing paper 2 classes. We're going to be doing specific classes for algebra, specific classes for graph. What was the other? Couple classes that we're going to just zero in on specific topics. And then I'm also going to be doing classes where I just break down each topic and deal with the theory of the topic, real world examples, that kind of thing, right? Okay, so thank you guys for staying with me all this time. And remember to make sure your notification is on so that you'll know when we'll be going live again and again and again. And share the video, tell others so that they'll know. All right, so until the next video, take care, scholars. Go and get some sleep now.